to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
The flattest tires.
Kill God.
Come on!
Make this asshole.
You're terminated, fucker.
Live or die, man.
Roads? Well, we're going, we don't need roads.
There can be only one.
I'll kill you all.
Goonies never say die.
We all need each other. As you can see, I'm not happier.
Are you not entertained?
This is friend.
Happy trails, Hans.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Skewered Universe Podcast. My name is Jeff, your usual host, and what follows here is the recording of our follow-up discussion to Midsommar. This time around it is myself, our regular co-host Leiann, and our friend Patrick French is returning. We have a rousing discussion regarding Midsommar once again, and we get Leiann's insights. And if you remember, Patrick was on our initial Midsommar episode, where I sat down with him and friend of the podcast, Paul Tiberius Stedman from Invasion of the Podcast and Strange Highways. And we had a rather in-depth discussion about the movie. And this time around, we get Leiann's perspective. We cover some things that we maybe didn't touch on last time, maybe rehash a few things, but it was all a lot of fun to sit down and record a discussion like this. There is a rant from me, because what else would a Skewered Universe podcast be without maybe a rant from me, you know? And just so you know, there's a couple of edits in there. We had to take some stuff out. It didn't really flow with the podcast. So if you hear things where things don't line up exactly, it's just some editing to take out some things that didn't really belong in there. So I hope you guys enjoy. And now, Midsommar follow-up from the Skewered Universe Podcast. Enjoy.
I told you that I want to go to that festival in Sweden.
No, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity and I decided
Look,
to
I don't
do
mind
it.
you going. I just wish you would have told me. That's all.
Dude, she needs a therapist. You've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
And don't forget about all of the beautiful Swedish women you'll meet in June.
Okay, guys.
That's not her again. Seriously?
Babe, what's happening? Danny.
I was so very sorry to hear about what happened.
I'm sorry.
I invited Danny to come to Sweden. You know what she's been going through.
Christian says you've got this special week planned.
It's sort of a crazy festival. Special ceremonies and dressing up.
That sounds fun.
Unbelievable.
Welcome and happy Midsummer. Skål!
What time is it?
9 p.m.
That can't be right. The sky is blue.
This is what 9 p.m. is like here.
How long have you two been together?
Just over 3.5 years.
4 years.
Really?
Yeah?
What do you think?
It's like another world.
Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary?
What is it?
It has special properties.
What am I going through?
We just need to acclimate.
I don't want to acclimate. I want to go.
Absolutely not.
What's happening?
I don't know why you invited us.
That's why you look so guilty right now, because you know.
We only do this every 90 years. I was most excited for you to come.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Skewered Universe Podcast. This is the Midsommar follow-up. We talked about it when Paul and Patrick were on the show. We were going to do a follow-up, and here we are. And joining me for this, we have returning my co-host. She's here. Leiann, welcome back.
Hey, suck a bag of dicks. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. And also, he said he would come back. He's here again. Patrick French, how are you, my friend?
Hey, what I can't follow up with what Leiann just said. I mean, how do you
It's
beat
best
that?
to just move along.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend like that didn't even happen.
Yeah, it became my shtick by accident, and I just have to roll with it.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not a whole lot. We're here back diving into this heavy movie.
And I'm so excited to crap on this movie again.
I am so glad. I'm excited.
So I know last time, Pat, we covered quite a bit with Paul. We went through so much, but yet there's even more that we want to dive into, and I know you have a lot to say. But I know that we never really got Leiann's perspective, how she thought about the film. So I kind of want to open up with Leiann, you kind of giving us your thoughts, how you felt about the film, what some of your takeaways were, and then we can dive into some of those deeper conversations.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I was listening to the part 1 episode, and you guys have, watched it 3-4 times. I've watched this movie, I can't even count, more than 10 times probably. And I've anticipated doing this episode because this movie is very, very close to me. I don't know how the timing worked because I thought this movie had just come out when I saw it. But no, it came out in 2019? Yeah. And
2019.
Yes.
Yeah. And when I watched it, I didn't really know what it was going to be about. And it turns out it's about her losing her family. And even around her birthday, that exactly happened to me. My birthday was March 1st. I lost my mom on the 13th. Whew! Was not expecting that. And
okay.
So everything she was feeling in this movie, I felt. And I relate to it so much. I've obsessed about this movie.
I think for Midsommar, it's definitely, there's something there speaking to you on a different level. For me, I think the film is beautiful. I think we talked about this last time, Jeff, is the way that the film was shot and the long sort of the long shots of Sweden are amazing. They're beautiful, right? It's beautifully, almost like a Kubrick-esque. These shots are just amazing and beautiful. The scenery, the exterior shots are really great, and I think that the film, makes sense because they literally spell out what's going to happen in the movie, within the first 20 minutes of the film. But part of me is wondering. I have still a lot of questions about why, and I've really been doing a lot of thinking about this film, especially last night and right before I took my, Grandpa takes his nap in the afternoons. Right before Grandpa went down for his nap, I was thinking about the film, and I'm like, if we look at the film from the perspective of it being spelled out for us at the very beginning, is that some sort of weird commentary on the futility of life? You know what I mean? I don't know. What's your perspective on that, you guys?
Oh, geez. I really didn't have a perspective on it. That's very deep. I just thought they're going to show us what happens in this piece of art, and if you don't catch it, you're going to miss it.
Which kind of, I don't know, Jeff, what do you think? I mean, to me, that kind of feels a little like a slap in the face. It kind of feels like, well, here's this thing. It's like throwing a poorly cooked steak in front of you and saying, all right, here's your knife, here's your fork. This is probably going to be a really poor analogy here, but you know what I mean? It's like somebody preparing this meal for you, and you look at the meal on the menu, and it looks amazing, and then they set this plate in front of you, and it smells mostly good and it looks mostly appetizing, but it's like ultimately you eat it and you're left unsatisfied. And I think that's where I was at with the movie But what do you guys think?
I can see where you would definitely pull that away, because when you're looking at those tapestries and you're seeing the certain visual cues of this will happen, and a lot of that stuff I picked up on other watches when I went back through, because there's so much going on in the first watches. I'm trying to take everything in that's happening. I've noticed these little visual references here and there. I mean, the most blatant one being that first tapestry where they lay out how the girl is going to seduce the guy to conceive a child. And now that you say that, it kind of makes me think, if you had been watching Jaws and there was a poster that basically laid out everything that was going to happen, from Quint addressing the townsfolk to them taking the boat out to kill the shark, and then Quint being eaten, if that laid out, you'd be like, Spielberg's a hack.
Yeah.
Everyone would be like, Spielberg's a hack. But this one, I don't know. I feel like because we see that this society has been there for so long, that maybe it's just something they've kept, and it's something to show this is one of our traditions. Maybe not necessarily the man who helps the woman to conceive the child being burned in a bear suit, but
yeah,
I don't know. There's so many ways to take things from this movie, and there's different things that I kind of took away last night, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I probably need to sit down and watch it again, because I think maybe I was just so sort of overwhelmed in the first watching. I think maybe I'm coming from the perspective of going through it with the characters the first time around and not really being able to sit down and truly appreciate all of the other stuff that's happening in the background. I know there were things happening in the background, but at the same time, I don't know. I just
you shouldn't have to invest that much in it. Yeah. You should just be able to watch it and understand it, as opposed to having to pay attention to all these different things going on in the background.
Yeah. I was telling Jeff and Paul the last time, I totally get the first 15 minutes of the film as kind of framing the character of Danny. I get that the first sort of 15 minutes is kind of like Danny's origin story, and it kind of, sets your kind of the expectation in the way that maybe you should view her as a character and view the subsequent events as a viewer. But I do feel like in a lot of ways, because of the, I don't know, just kind of the aside from her kind of breaking down in those moments privately, but not really expressing that sort of those. Okay, so kind of going back to what I was just saying, that first 15 minutes of the film, or 20 minutes of the film, I feel like that was a little bit extraneous because it's so internalized by the character. I do see it as a story element, but it's not really. And this is my personal opinion, I don't really feel like they play on that element, that the director played on that element as effectively as he could have, because she's internalizing so much of that, the anger and the grief. I mean, there are scenes where she's crying outwardly, and there are scenes where she's breaking down, and I know that's how human beings experience emotion, but there's no ostensible way to lend context as a viewer to, what she's feeling. Hey, spoiler alert, at the end of the film, when she's watching the, all right. But
no worries, man.
Sorry. But yeah, it's her inner struggle that I don't think is manifest to the casual viewer or reinforced. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know.
I agree completely. And I think that's another thing that I'm realizing that I identify with her about, is the fact that she's internalizing all of these feelings, whether it's feeling inadequate, feeling unloved, feeling unsure, feeling sad, feeling angry. She's internalizing all of this. And while you're right, it doesn't make for a very good plot movement because there's nothing she's putting out. I'm feeling like that too. Like I'm feeling very stagnant in my life because my plot isn't moving forward because I'm internalizing all these things.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that.
But Leiann, if we were filming the story of your life, right? Like if Midsommar was tracing, your journey into Sweden, out into the back country of Sweden with a bunch of weird religious fanatic Swedish hillbillies, diss on hillbillies. Me as a director, I'm just saying, I'm not saying I can do a better job than this guy because I'm going full Karen territory right now. But I think you would want to use those feelings that you as the protagonist of the story is feeling. I think you would want to find some way to express that in the film. And I know that there are scenes, that scene where she kind of loses it when they first get there. She says, give me a minute or what have you, what the exact dialogue is. She goes outside, has a good cry, breaks down, is flashing back to, seeing her sister, things like that. I think they are peppered in there, but I think if you really are trying to portray the inner struggle of somebody, I don't know if Midsommar kind of conveyed all of those feelings. And so like I was saying, that term that I had when I was talking with Jeff and Paul was like this feeling of the inexplicable nature of the character of Danny, and maybe not her character, but definitely her reaction at the end of the film as she's watching her, spoiler alert, as she's watching her boyfriend burn, is so inexplicable. And there's good inexplicable, right? Like there's a way to frame that, like Jack Torrance's, chilling skeletal grin at the end of The Shining, where he's frozen solid and dead. Like him inexplicably grinning there is entirely set up by the movie, but Danny's character at the end of the film, I feel is kind of set up, but could have been set up better. That's just my, take on that, hot take there.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I see exactly where you're coming from.
There could have been a lot more development on that end.
But I mean, hey, being burned to death in a freaking bear suit, man. Talk about your classic way to go.
Well, okay, let's put it this way. How would you rather go, Pat? Would you rather go burned up in a bear suit or wood chipper?
Oh, well, Leiann, how many times have I spoken about my desire to be my desire to be processed by a wood chipper and splattered Gallagher style?
I'm sorry, but that is one of the things that has stood out to me in our entire friendship.
I mean, I haven't seen that on celluloid yet. I've kind of seen part of, like, I've seen attempts, but I mean, had they done that in Midsommar, oh yeah, man, I'm 100% on board. I feel like her satisfied smile, that smug sort of crying smile at the end of the film, would be far, less inexplicable if they had splattered her, total D-bag boyfriend all over that bar.
It would have been glorious. And a fitting end for someone named Christian who's just pretty much a prick.
Yeah. What do you think, Leiann? What did you think of Christian's character?
It's funny because, like I said, I've seen this movie countless times. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen it. And every time I've seen it, I've wanted to like him. I've wanted to give him a chance. And that's another thing that she and I have in common, Danny and I, is that we both are willing to give a douchebag a chance.
Uh-oh, Jeff.
And
and she married this douchebag.
Yep, I sure did.
Well, hey, we're friends, so Leiann, that is the true words have never been spoken. She's definitely given me, a douchebag, a chance at being her friend on several occasions.
Oh, jeez. You are in no way a douchebag.
Anyway.
But I've wanted to like his character. I've tried to find some redeeming quality in him, and every time I watch it, I just get so mad at him.
Well, yeah.
At everything.
Yeah, because he's, I mean, I don't know, Jeff. From my own perspective in my life, I've kind of felt, and even even in my personal life, there's sometimes where you're just like being in a relationship with somebody, dealing with situations as a partner with somebody, as somebody who's there and doing the day in and day out with somebody. There are situations where you can run into where you feel like, like this again, like, oh no, there's no more toilet paper in the bathroom. Why didn't, my daughter or whomever replace the toilet paper in the bathroom? And I kind of feel like that's what makes this guy so unlikable, the Christian character, is because he's like that through the whole film. He's just like, I can't even. Like, he's the I can't even guy,
Yeah, he makes it very clear from the very beginning that he doesn't actually want to be with her.
Yeah. Well, and he's also morally reprehensible too, right? Like, that's the irony there of his name, is that he's also totally trying to scam his buddy Josh out of his paper there. It's like he suddenly springs it on his friend Josh. Oh, hey, by the way, I'm doing the exact same thing for my thesis that you're doing. And it's like, dude, what the hell, man?
Yeah, even when he like tries to make up for forgetting her birthday and gives her like this half-assed cupcake, I thought, he's trying to be a good person. No, he's not.
He would have not done anything for her had Pele not said, hey, you actually forgot her birthday. You should probably do something.
Exactly.
He would have just kept on going. And his thing with Josh is when he's telling him, hey, I'm going to write my paper on the same thing you are. He's like, so if you want to collaborate, like, it was his idea all along.
Yeah.
Like, I'll gladly let you in on it. And it's like,
yeah,
you're a real douche. You need to take a step back and really look at yourself for a second, because everything you do is for you, and you gaslight everyone around you. Your supposed friends who you're supposed to be tight with, your girlfriend who you're supposed to care about. Anything that you can do to make them the bad guy or throw them under the bus to save your own ass, you're willing to do.
And that's like, I think, kind of getting back to the timeline of the movie, that all happens fairly, quickly into their sort of introduction to this cult compound, essentially. I know that you and Paul didn't want to classify this place quite as harshly as I did, where I was saying, hey, this seems like a cult to me. I know that there was some issue on or not issue, but there was just some reticence there on behalf of you guys. But I definitely feel like, the Pele character is taking them to this, cult compound. I mean, there's no other way to sort of describe these people. And as somebody who has a big time interest in cults, especially murderous cults, and who's done a lot of listening of podcasts, specifically the Cult Podcast and other podcasts that talk about religious cults like Shinrikyo or, Heaven's Gate or the Children of God. I mean, this group of people that we are introduced to at the beginning of the film, I would most definitely classify as a cult. Although, in sort of, and I don't know if this is kind of a deliberate reference, if the film is deliberately referencing this, but, Sweden was, I think, it was either Sweden, Norway, or Finland. One of those, places were amongst the last kingdoms to be converted to Christianity. And there's still a lot of those sort of Viking and Christian traditions that exist in those places today that, you know, may seem weird as fuck to us, you know, like jumping around the maypole like frogs, or, you know, I mean, eating lutefisk. I mean, oh my God, have you ever smelled that stuff? It smells like death. But
I've heard stories.
Before. Yeah. Oh God, it's like, oh man, I've watched the videos of people trying to eat this stuff and just violently vomiting, you know, like.
Yeah. As soon as they open up whatever it's in, it smacks them in the face like a sledgehammer. And
it's like getting it's like taking an ice pick to your nostrils. You know what I mean? Not through them, but up your nostrils.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, maybe we should talk about the film in chronological order. I know we kind of jumped out of time here with talking about the different characters, but yeah, this is where I will compliment the film, you guys, is as I've said, you know, the establishing shots are beautiful. Like the Swedish countryside when they're walking into the compound, you know, all of the cult members out there doing whatever weird Swedish culty stuff they're doing, taking drugs, playing volleyball. I don't know. They're playing Fortnite out on the grass, you know. I don't know.
Topless car wash.
You know,
call back.
I feel like that opening sequence when they're walking in, like I honestly feel like they could have put any activity in there and it totally would have made sense because of like the just absolute otherness and dislocation of you know, this compound, but the cinematography in those shots is really amazing, and I mean, you have so much to work with. I think you'd have to really try hard to, like, you know, mess that up to not pull something off that looked beautiful. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, visually, this film is stunning. I mean, the sweeping shots of the landscape, the colors are vibrant and they pop. Nothing feels desaturated like so many movies we get now. All the colors are muted and everything's toned down. It's like, well, that's not how this would look. If I go out and I see a building that is bright yellow, it appears to me bright yellow. Don't tone it down so it looks so muted that you can't really tell. And that's what I do like about this, is it's visually stunning. The shots and the color palette and the daylight and everything just makes it feel so warm and vibrant, a contrast to what's actually happening with some of the more cold and darker elements that happen.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it has a dreamy quality to it. That's what I think. I mean, there's the shots where they're at the table, or some of the longer shots that in the daylight, they have this very dreamy, you know, gosh, what like atmospheric, you know, ethereal quality to them. What do you think, Leiann?
I personally love when things don't seem like it's horror. Like, for example, if you hear a song and it sounds really upbeat and it sounds joyful, but if you listen to the words, it's actually very morbid. I really like that. And this movie has that feel to it where it's pretty, it's daylight, there are flowers everywhere. Everyone's wearing white. It's very calming, but then it's also under the surface very morbid and dark. And I really appreciate that.
Totally. You know, I was thinking one of the activities that the cultists should have been doing when the gang walks into the compound there is like recording ASMR videos. Like this place looks like they could be just like it could be an ASMR like sweat farm where all the cultists are just recording just ASMR videos, trying to get as many followers on YouTube as they can and monetize those channels. I mean, it is 100%. There's flowers, and it's you know, the shots primarily take place in broad daylight. You know, there is a metaphor there, I guess, you know, and I think, I don't guess, I know And I think it was clever by the director, and his name totally escapes me now.
Ari Aster.
Ari Aster, yeah. It's very, he definitely has a style. He reminds me of, I think I talked about this the first time around, was, gosh, what the heck is the name of that director? But he did The Fountain. He did that movie with Russell Crowe.
Oh, The Fountain was so good.
Yeah, he did that movie with Russell Crowe as Moses. He has this palette. He picks a palette for his movies. So like with The Fountain, it was gold, right? And then for that Moses movie, it was blue. He has these. I think he did Black Swan too. Darren Aronofsky. So
Aronofsky. I was trying to think about it this whole time. I'm like,
who is
it? I was trying to look it up. And
Aronofsky. So Aronofsky kind of, Aster and Aronofsky strike me as people who like to work in with a certain color, or in this particular film, daylight and white and sort of that effusive palette, like you were mentioning, Jeff and Leiann. I think that's what he was going for here, and it totally does cloak just the absolute bonkers underbelly. It's like once you turn over the proverbial stone, all of the worms and bugs wriggling out from underneath. Definitely that palette hides this film. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I was listening to the part 1 episode, and you guys mentioned how the murder and violence takes place off screen. So it's not in your face. It's not obvious.
Yeah.
And it really makes you think about what goes on behind those walls.
Mm-hmm.
What goes on when you're not looking.
Yeah,
it really creeps me out. But I love it.
It is creepy. It is. It's super creepy. It's like that, jumping forward in time in the movie where Christian meets the matriarch of the cult there. And I know, Jeff, I know you probably don't want me to refer to them as a cult. I don't have any other.
They are 100% a cult. 100%.
I have come around after seeing it again. I'm definitely on board with this being a cult.
Yeah.
So.
I say that jokingly just because you and Paul were just like, I don't think these guys are a cult. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, yeah, they're 100% a cult. Like, this is
watching it again, I'm on the cult train.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Charles Manson style. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's love bombing. It's they're re-traumatizing her with all the death.
Yeah.
They're intoxicating her. They're altering her state of mind.
Oh, totally.
It's 100% a cult.
Which I have questions about, but I think if we move forward in the film, I definitely have a question there. Like you said, Leiann, it seems like all of the plot movement, even Danny's sort of emotional state, happens off screen. Like the killing and the murder and the all of the really gnarly stuff, even Danny's sort of the depth of her grief or the depth of her rage or resentment towards the Christian characters, all happening outside of the movie, which, could be deliberate. It could not be deliberate. I mean, part of me thinks that has to be a deliberate choice by the director, just because you walk that fine line of like, well, if we start showing somebody being like, whatever the German eagle, whatever the hell that torture is, where they split your back open, and you start to turn this film into like a slasher flick, and I don't think Aster was going for that, but
I think it is. I think a lot of times movies put too much of that in when it isn't necessary. You don't need that to tell the story. You don't need that for it to be terrifying. It doesn't need to be in your face.
For sure. It's, Jeff, I don't know if you guys saw that post that I posted on Facebook, but it was about Howard the Duck, right? I told a story about when my grandma took me to see Howard the Duck, and she was like, I don't know about this. I was like 10 years old, or 9 years old. And she was super like, like especially the opening scene where Howard's being sucked into the earth realm, and he flies by some duck in the in the bath, and her boobs are showing. Yes. Like, nice, whatever. Yeah. But the scene that got my grandma was when Howard, and don't mean to derail the podcast here, but I'm trying to draw an analogy here. The scene that got my grandma is when Howard, when it's inferred off camera that Howard and what's her name? Oh God, I had a crush on her as a kid.
Leah Thompson.
Leah Thompson, yeah. When Howard and Leah Thompson might have had relations, like it's heavily implied that Leah Thompson made love to a duck, and my grandma just lost it.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, she was just like, oh my God. Like I remember her just being like, that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for her. And she finished the movie out with me, but oh my God, for years she talked about that. Like, that was disgusting. Like, that girl had sex with a duck. And you know, I mean, they didn't show it because that would have just been comedy, right? Like, that would have been hilarious. It's like watching Leah Thompson have sex with the duck, with Howard the Duck. I mean, it would have been amazing and really weird. And I think that's kind of what this film is trying to do, to not show people having sex with the duck, but capturing that like really gnarly stuff off camera.
Right. It's a very apt analogy. I do appreciate that because I grew up watching Howard the Duck, and it's a horrible film, but that stuck with me later when I realized what it was. I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
So it works. The implied fornication off screen between those two, and then the implied darkness in Midsommar. It very much works in that analogy.
I mean, who knows? These guys could be making love to ducks.
We never saw enough. We never saw enough of the unclouded gentleman with the slight deformities. So who knows what's going off screen?
Oh God.
Well, they did have a dog, and we don't know what they did with that dog. So.
You're no harm should come to the dog in any horror film.
Leave ducks and dogs alone. That means you, Leah Thompson. I know you're listening to us right now. All right. I loved you, and I still kind of love you. Her and Ashley Lawrence of Hellraiser fame, but whatevs. Moving on.
Yes. So, Leiann, you did touch on something last night. Like I said, we had rewatched this last night together in preparation for today. And you threw out something that I had never noticed before when they're walking through the entranceway, taking that path to get to the entrance.
Oh, yeah, the flowers.
Yeah, touch on that a little bit, because I never noticed this. I want you to kind of just talk about it real quick.
It's so funny. Every time I watch the movie, I catch something new, even though it's right in front of my face. So, like, as they're walking through to get to the compound or the commune or whatever you want to call it, there's this path of flowers. And I didn't notice it until not last time I watched it, because that was last night, but the night before. And I was like, wait a minute, they're walking on a path of flowers. Crazy.
And it was crazy because I had never noticed it, and Pat, I'm not sure if you had, but it starts very sporadically. Like, you start to see a flower here and there, and then the closer they get, there's more flowers on this path.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, the symbolism being rebirth, right? The whole Midsommar ritual is this whole film is kind of a take on Dani, specifically her sort of, you know, I don't want to say physical death, but definitely grieving and dealing with death and disappointment and regret and all of these negative emotions at an emotional level. The death of a relationship with Christian, the death of her family, you know, and sort of like her rebirth and indoctrination into this cult. I mean, you know, the literal sort of ritual itself is that of rebirth, right? Like, when you go back to medieval times or when you go back to pre-Christian times, the whole idea of this festival is a literal rebirth of the world as it emerges from, sort of the winter and I mean, isn't the midsummer is the time right at the end of the winter as they're sort of planting and sowing and starting that rebirth process. And I think that I could totally be wrong. And, if I am, great. But as far as I'm aware, I believe that, the Midsummer Festival, the spring festivals are fertility festivals, and they celebrate the rebirth of the world. And that's kind of Dani's character is kind of definitely going through this rebirth. So her walking on a carpet of flowers would be, something that kind of totally makes sense. But, and then even that pisses me off, guys, right? Like, so she's walking in on that really fucking makes me mad, right? That really grinds my gears right now, right? Because then it's like all of these other characters, like all of these, they're totally, this film is not, and I guess it's not heavily implied, but thinking about what you guys thinking about this film, now I realize that this film is basically about Dani's spiritual rebirth, and her rebirth into this cult structure, and it's about her shedding off the sort of accoutrements, if you will, of her past life. And that really pisses me off, because then I'm like, well, why the hell all of the other stuff in this film is totally inconsequential and pointless to the movie, right? Like, if we're just talking about Dani's rebirth as a person, I don't know. Now I'm getting mad again. I'm like, my thoughts are swirling. I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys.
No need to apologize. That's why we're here, to get everyone's view on what's going on. And that's the beauty of this. We can discuss it, have a discussion, and nobody's going to sit here and go, well, my opinion matters and yours doesn't, so screw you because you're wrong.
Yeah.
No. We all take things away from each other. That's the point of this.
Oh, it's just making me so mad, though. It's like now I feel even more cheated by this movie. You know what I mean? Like, I feel so cheated by this movie. I'm like, I wasted 2.5 hours of my life watching this film. It should have, this movie could have just been Dani, getting a fresh outfit, getting a haircut, hitting the gym really hard, going to therapy. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're gonna talk about rebirths here, just make a straight up drama about Dani getting her groove back. Maybe she goes and she this could have been some weird spa in Sweden that she goes to for the weekend, and she has relationship drama with her boyfriend, and she catches him and a bunch of weird people having an affair. I just, now I feel so mad. I'm like, this was totally
Pat, you are completely rewriting this movie, God. And it's tickling me to death.
It's making me insane right now, you guys, because I'm like, this film could have been on the Lifetime channel. Did you get the Lifetime channel script and punch it up and then came up with Midsommar? What do you guys think? What's your theories on this? I have a new theory about this film. Headcanon.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
I don't know why, but you being so upset about this movie just cracks me up. Oh my God, it makes me so happy.
Oh, it's so infuriating.
She should, instead of going to Sweden, she should have just dumped her boyfriend, got a new outfit, went and get a manicure, go to some therapy, go work out, and the movie could be called Dani Gets Her Groove Back.
Yeah, exactly. And it could have been Hilary Duff could have played the dance character. I mean, if they wanted to add some some spice to the movie, maybe they have a spicy spicy Swedish weird dude who keeps talking about his family back home and hey, come back to Sweden with me, and they could have got some weird trafficking storyline going in there, because you know how those Lifetime movies want to take a totally benign situation, and they want to punch it up with some total BS. I mean, it's making me mad now, you guys. I'm sorry.
They would have looked for like a Peter Stormare light to play that. Because they wouldn't be able to get Peter Stormare because he'd be like, look, Lifetime's even below me. I know I've been in some shit movies, but I'm not doing Lifetime. So they would have went with like his great value discount store version.
This is like now I'm starting to see this film as 100% a
garbage
indulgence of the director. This is like the director's fantasy. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Especially since it's about a breakup and he makes it very clear it's about a breakup. Yeah. And then he's added all this fluff to it.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's like all the characters just totally become unnecessary. When you frame it, like when I'm starting to think about this movie and I'm like, this is a tired sort of storyline that was looking for for ways to sort of spice it up, and I mean, yeah, a cult in Sweden, definitely that's a good way to get a movie made. But at its base, it's just a really simple rebirth story. It's like Stella got her groove back, except in Sweden and weirdos and old people jumping off of mountains and a lot of extreme
with questionable form.
Yeah, dude, totally. I really feel like they should have cut in the whole YouTube going for the clicks and the likes and the subs angle here.
Hey guys, welcome back to Hargo. We're here for Midsommar Festival. We just got finished with the At the Stupa.
Yeah, I
don't know why I sound German. I don't know a Swedish accent, but
No, that was good. I liked it, Jeff. That sounded legit to me.
Hates it. Come at me, bro. No.
Come at me, bro. Don't at me on Twitter, man. It's like, it kind of makes it inexplicable again to me, and it just, I don't know.
Well, to be fair, I think that kind of ties it into the fact that it's a horror film about a cult, and the fact that they actually went out to look for these specific types of people, and these people had specific type of roles in this whole situation.
Yeah.
And I even wanted to like Pele. I've liked him throughout the whole times I've watched the movie. I've liked him until I realized that he is just as manipulative as everyone else.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I mean the Pele character, it's funny because I have the IMDb page pulled up right now, and there's a picture of Tom Hiddleston as Loki. And I'm like, man, Tom Hiddleston would have been an amazing Pele in this film, right? They got Hiddleston. But yeah, he's almost like, his character is super likable. Like the whole film, he's the only one that shows any sort of humanity towards Danny, that shows any sort of empathy, however misplaced, hint, the make-out scene.
Misplaced.
Yeah, the total inappropriate level of concern, But I mean, if that fan, because I know that's a fan theory out there, right? Is the cult deliberately targeted Danny and or may have orchestrated the demise of her family, right?
See, that's too much for me.
Yeah, and I'm like, whoa, guys, let's pump the brakes on this, okay? This isn't Game of Thrones here. But I mean, totally, the insidiousness of that character, right? And the insidiousness of the cult, and him recognizing that something is up with Danny. Again, it isn't explicitly stated in the film, right? Unless Christian's having conversations, which it's kind of alluded to with his friends about how messed up Danny is and all of her problems. Maybe he's having these conversations. I think they do have a conversation about why they should be together, or there's some allusion to her being super clingy, I think, and they have this whole conversation. So Pele catches wind of that, or Pele catches wind of that and definitely targets her. That's messed up. That's super messed up.
I know for a fact he was targeting people because when he was talking to Will Poulter's character, he tells him about being able to impregnate all these Swedish women.
Oh, dang.
And it's like, well, now wait a minute. That goes against the personality he's had for the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. Except that one little thing, that's what calls him out for being a manipulative piece of shit.
Yeah, yeah.
He's deliberately saying things to draw them in.
Yeah.
When he knows it's a lie.
Yeah. I mean, and he's just, I mean, that character to me, that character was the only, aside from Danny, was the only character that I felt was like three-dimensional, right? Like I felt like even Christian felt like a cardboard cutout. But Will Poulter, I can't stand that guy's face. Looking at him pisses me off.
What?
I look at him and I see Matt Gaetz, you know, the congressman from Florida. I see like Beavis, or excuse me, I see Butthead.
I love his face. I love him.
I think it's the characters that he tends to play, but I don't want to go take a side quest into how much I hate Will Poulter, just his face. And I totally 100% respect your love of his face. I'm sure that he is somebody's jam, right? Like, but it's because he plays these characters that are so insufferable at times. And this character, Mark, is like the quintessential insufferable, like horn dog. Like, you know, he's straight off of like the trope database. You know what I mean? He's a cardboard. He's a caricature of a person. And I know that these sorts of people exist, but you know, that's kind of like what makes me mad about this film is that there are these characters that aren't fully fleshed out. And I think, you know, Josh, the character of Josh, William Jackson Harper's character, he's kind of like, they attempted to make him a little more three-dimensional, but he ends up sort of still being like, you know, he's trying to keep the movie or the plot line going along with his sort of side quests into the temple or whatever that place is with the freaking toxic Avenger who lives upstairs or whatever. that horrible artist in all of his colors.
The elephant child.
The elephant child.
That's
awful. No. But
I apologize.
Now I know. I'm really sad thinking about that. But yeah, no. I don't know. What do you? I don't know. I get so tied up in knots over this film.
I think it's hilarious that you've seen it once and you're this upset by it.
It's just,
it got you.
It got me. Something
the director won.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he did. It's the hubris of Ari Aster and this movie. Oh, I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, if a director's goal is to get people to feel something about a movie, then he's definitely done it, because you have a very hard stance. You feel a certain way.
Yeah.
So he's definitely got you to have an opinion and a feeling about the movie.
For sure.
So I don't think it's necessarily
not even just a negative feeling. Just he feels ripped off. He feels gypped.
Yeah, big time. Yes. 100% feeling ripped off by this movie, because there's so many guys. There are so many. I know we're jumping all around this movie, but it's so hard to have a linear discussion about this film, Jeff. Don't you guys feel like it's really, really hard to have a linear discussion about this film that is basically just a 2.5 hour insight into the mind of the main character in a way? Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like anything in this film is concrete. Does that make sense?
It almost feels like it's two different movies. Like it's the dramatic movie of her grieving, getting over it, and then there's the movie of this horrifying murder cult.
Totally. And I think that's what's bugging me is that is that it is two different films. Don't you think, Jeff? I mean, like, from your perspective, Leiann's nailed it, right? Like this film could have just as easily been Stella Got Her Groove Back as the Jim Jones movie doc. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think, Jeff?
Oh yeah, I totally understand. And it does definitely, after seeing it now 5 times, because I wanted to make sure that I was informed enough to discuss this. Because usually, and just a little sidebar here, when I watch a movie the first time, I'm not necessarily trying to think about how am I going to turn this into a podcast? How am I going to talk about this? I want to just see it first. Okay, I've seen it. I have a general opinion on it.
Yeah.
Okay, is this something I can cover? Then I'll go back and watch it again, maybe to see the finer points, try and pick up on things that maybe I didn't catch on the first watch. That being said, this definitely does have the feeling of 2 separate movies, and they just kind of went, well, we've got this and we've got this.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's
and it
almost
doesn't
like
really
the
come
director
together.
It's almost like the director wanted to do the breakup movie and thought, okay, well, I can't just do a breakup movie because it'll be on Lifetime. How can I make it different?
Exactly.
Okay, how about we add a cult and we turn it into a horror film?
Exactly, Leiann. Exactly why I feel so ripped off by this movie, and exactly why I'm like, no, pardon my French here, fuck this, I'm not watching this movie again. I've already given it 2.5 hours of my life that I can't get back. Of course, I did it at night when my daughter was asleep. I wasn't a horribly irresponsible dad who was like, get away, kid, while I get ripped off by Ari Aster. But that's exactly how I feel. This fucking movie this movie was totally a Lifetime. It was a bad Lifetime breakup movie script, and exactly like what you said, Leiann. Ari Aster's like, I want to make a movie about how much I hate my girlfriend, right? And
yeah.
But I need to sell this in order to. It's like that scene from Kids in the Hall Brain Candy, right? Like, did you guys ever see that movie?
No.
Okay, so there's
sadly no.
Okay, so the whole premise is like this big medical company wants to make the perfect anti-anxiety pill, right? That's the whole movie in a nutshell. But there's this scene where one of the kids in the hall plays this crazy scientist, and he's pitching his drug to a bunch of like corporate suits who are like the total like archetypical corporate suit assholes. And he's like, they're like, so what's your drug? And he's like, it's a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends. And they're just like, And he's like, you don't understand. This is a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends. And they're just like, and why? And he's like, it's a pill for the world. And that's how I feel like this guy like had this mission to expose his horrible relationship to the world. He was smart. He wanted to monetize it somehow. And he needed some pitch. Like he probably took some shitty script to Lifetime and was like, I'm going to make Stella Got Her Groove Back except with white people. And they were like, get the hell out of here. And he's like, well, I got to punch it up. I got to find some way. To turn this into a thing. I'm totally crapping on this movie, guys. I'm sorry. I'm getting worked up.
No.
Worked up into a rage right now.
That's what makes it entertaining.
I apologize for getting you worked up, but it does make for compelling listening.
Yes.
I do want to say, talking about this whole thing of like, well, I had this script, but how can I sell it?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me, and Pat, you might remember, Dimension Films in the early to mid 90s, because they had acquired the rights to the Hellraiser franchise and those characters.
Oh, Jesus.
They started inserting the Cenobites into ridiculous scripts that had nothing to do with Hellraiser whatsoever. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. Like, well, we got the script. How can we make it? Oh, put Pinhead in it, and it'll be a Hellraiser movie. We'll call it Hellraiser Hellscape or whatever.
Yeah,
it'll work. It'll work.
Or let's put Mershon's toy box into the film somewhere. It's like under a piece of glass in a shop. Oh, look, it's a story in the Hellraiser universe, Yeah, I feel like this was ultimately a cheese sandwich of a movie, and I think maybe the first script was probably like a really crappy, not even an American, not even like a Kraft American cheese sandwich, but like a Kroger American cheese sandwich. And
yeah. The dollar store American cheese food.
Yeah, that doesn't melt.
Quotes.
That doesn't melt, exactly. That doesn't melt, right? So like, how do I turn this thing into something that's interesting? And I think ultimately that's where I feel cheated, because I feel like, yes, there are a couple of interesting characters. Sweden. Like even the choice of this happening in Sweden is such a lazy, freaking manipulative choice by the director, right? Because like I have this beautiful, we have this beautiful landscape. We have this, like, everybody on his crew like took advantage of that landscape, shot it beautifully, colorful, bright, a beautiful film to look at. But the storyline is ultimately a turd, because this could have taken place anywhere. This could have been in Cleveland, Ohio. There could have been a cult. There's that lady, that Love Is One lady, who they did a story about this cult lady who died of from taking too much colloidal silver, and she turned purple basically. But her cult was like worshiping her in the back room of some other cult member's house. I mean, this film could have literally done that and still made as effective of a movie without it being so sort of, again, inexplicable and confusing. It's just making me mad.
Well, to be fair, it's almost
that it could
like
have been anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, the fact that I'm kind of in it, in a similar situation of Danny, like, I had to get out of my element. I had to get out of my house. I had to get out of my bedroom. I had to leave. I left the state. I'm in Portland right now because I needed to get as far away as possible. And the fact that I'm in, like, to me, Portland it basically might as well be Sweden, because it's completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
And I understand why they would go to Sweden, because it's on the completely opposite side of the world. Things are completely different, completely out of her element. Nothing is familiar to her.
Yeah.
So I get why they would do Sweden.
And I think
it could have been a different country, to be honest. It could have been anywhere.
And I think a competent director working with a like, all of the cues of the film. What I can't get over, Leiann, is the plotting out of the structure of the film in the first 20 minutes. That is the first slap to the face of me as a I'm not Siskel and Ebert here, but I've watched a lot of movies. I like to think about movie structures because I like stories. I like playing D&D. I mean, I'm a sucker for a good story. And I like Lovecraft, and I like horror. I like that genre. And I really feel like the choices that Ari Aster made when he shot this film, taking it to Sweden, when he's going to spell out the entire structure of the film in the first 20 minutes, just feels like more fluff. Like we were just talking about. It feels like more mayonnaise on the shit sandwich. Sorry, it's making me curse.
I'm imagining a shit sandwich and questioning why someone would put mayonnaise on it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because it's like ultimately, if you're trying to make a film that is describing, or if you're trying to make a horror film, if you're trying to genuinely really mess with somebody's head, and I guess he was successful, because look how twisted I am over this movie.
Yep.
you could do that anywhere, right? I feel like this guy's like, hey, we got $90 million to throw at this crappy script. Let's take it to Sweden. You know what I mean? Like, and then he's going to slap you in the face with, here's how the movie's going to go within the first 20 minutes. I feel like really insulted. But I haven't watched it 5 times, so you guys are way more qualified to speak on the technical details. But I think as a average movie watcher, as a average, from one take, this film really felt like a disservice to the casual viewer. Maybe that was intended. Maybe he wants you to watch this 10 times so that you can pick out all the little Easter eggs that he's planted in the film. But it just makes me mad. I don't know. It just pisses me off.
Actually, now that you say that, it does make sense, because that's one of the main reasons why I keep watching it over and over, because I keep seeing those little Easter eggs and going, oh, I didn't notice that before. And, oh, I didn't see that the first time. And wait a minute, did that guy just do what I think he did? It's something new each time, and it doesn't have anything to do with the plot. It's a very simple plot, but there's so many things that catch my ADD.
What do you
keeps
think,
me
Jeff?
interested.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're one of you have more insights into this film than I have, because you're nailing it so far, Leiann, on all of these points.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Well, I think one thing that comes up, and I don't know if you guys have heard this. So the writer-director Ari Aster, when he's been asked about his films like Hereditary and Midsommar, and they ask him about, well, do you really like making horror films for A24? They ask him about horror, and he goes, no, I don't make horror films. I make elevated horror films. These aren't your conventional horror films.
Cool.
And I'm like, you are so far up your own ass.
Oh my God.
It's a horror film. I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't try to give it this, oh no, well, it's elevated horror because it's more subtle in this. I'm like, no, it's basically made your Lifetime version of The Wicker Man that was a little less messed up. Yeah. You can't sit there and go, oh, this is elevated horror. It's the same problem I have with people that will justify, well, Silence of the Lambs won an Oscar. It's a crime thriller. I'm like, no, that's literally a horror film. He cut a guy's face off after biting his nose. Yeah. You have a cannibalistic character who is helping someone in the FBI catch a serial killer who is literally skinning women to make a suit. This is the story of Ed Gein, basically.
Yeah. Or it's like saying,
that's a horror movie.
Yeah, or it's like going, oh, hey, you know that story about the Miami zombie who ate his his fellow homeless guy's face off while he was on bath salts and sleeping? That was a love story. No, dude, don't sell me that basket full of garbage, man. That is straight up horror, right? There's no way you're going to make a story about the Miami zombie and call it a love story. It ends with a man literally chewing another man's face off while high on bath salts. There's no love in that. I am sorry. It's just like this whole idea of I think that's what's bugging me too, right? Is and I think that bugs me a lot about just the modern age. This is gonna be Uncle Pat going off on a rant about how being old sucks and how everything was more awesome 20 years ago. But you know what I mean? This whole idea of elevated horror. This is the kind of BS they tell you when you get into a restaurant and they want to sell you a $50 hamburger. They're like, oh no, it's not a hamburger. It's an elevated, carnivore experience. No, dude, it's a fucking hamburger, okay? And it probably cost you $5 to make, and you put some truffles on it or some fake caviar, and now you're going to sell me a $75 or $100 burger.
And then on top of that, they're spoon feeding it to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, here's a breakdown of the price that it actually cost us to treat you to this elevated experience that you're privileged to be, indulging in. And oh, look, it's cost $50 less than what we're actually selling that's probably a really bad analogy. It's just this film just, it really grinds my gears. I hate when directors try and take, I just hate films that try and aspire for something greater than what they are. And then you've got all of the apologists online who like saying, "Oh, this film is so heavy and it's rife with references to pagan and pre-Christian rituals in Sweden." I'm like, dude, get out of here. Ari Aster was not reading about the pre-Christian history of Sweden or the pre-Christian, fertility rituals. Like, this is all stuff that's brought in by the viewer, right? I think, like you said, Leiann, ultimately this film is Ari Aster's breakup film, and he needed to put some mayonnaise and some caviar and some freaking jack cheese, like he was so mad right now. I'm sorry.
It's basically one of those restaurants that goes, we've reimagined the burger. We've taken American Wagyu beef and raclette cheese, black truffle, and a garlic blah 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 aioli. It's like, so mayo, beef, cheese. It's a fucking burger. Don't tell me any different. Yeah, the argument of elevated horror just bugs me. It's like, well, it makes you think. I'm like, good movies make you think.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a difference. Like, a fun horror movie doesn't really make you think. You get lost in it. Yeah. Then there are those horror movies that are like, oh man, this is really like, there's something to this. I want to, this really made me think. And there's movies in other genres that will make you think.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't make me think. It makes me go, there's some fucked up shit happening. I don't want to join a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
That's I guess that's my takeaway.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're talking about straight up anti-cult propaganda, then yes, mission accomplished. It's kind of like every time I drive through Del Taco and I see that their new tagline of like, oh, it's a fresh Mexican grill or something like that. They've tagged all their restaurants with this thing, and I'm like, dude, don't know. It's fucking Del Taco, okay? I know what I'm gonna get when I drive through Del Taco. Do not hand me something and then tell me, oh, but we're a fresh Mexican grill now. This isn't Del Taco anymore. No, you're gonna hand me the same garbage that I love and enjoy, and I'm going to drive off and I'm going to eat it and I'm going to feel vaguely disappointed but full, and I'm going to walk away and be okay. But this film pretends to be something that it isn't, and I think that's what makes me mad. And that's what has me feeling this inexplicable feeling, because it's trying so hard to be something that it isn't. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that they added in, like Leiann caught that catch about the flowers, right? Maybe they just added that shit in post-production and was like, what's another thing that we can add? What's another ingredient that we could add to this horrible melange of hubris and elevated horror that somebody upon second viewing will go, oh, look, that's a thing I missed. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels pointless.
I understand completely.
Yeah, anyway.
And I feel like it helped me understand how, this is going to be hard for me to explain. But so, like, a lot of people think, number one, they're going to recognize a cult right off. They think they know what's going to happen. They think they know how they're going to react. And for the longest time, I thought, I'm going to know a cult when I see it. I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid. It's obvious. It turns out that is not the case for me, because when my mom died, my world got, shattered, completely shattered. And I had to reevaluate things. And when I went to my friend's house that I've been staying at in Portland, her partner, who I like very much, the first night handed me a bowl of supplements and vitamins because he works in the wellness department of his grocery store. Mm-hmm. And without even thinking, think about this. I'm in a new environment. I'm grieving the loss of my mom. Someone hands me a bowl of pills and says, here, take this. It's good for you. Yeah. Did I question it? Did I say what's in it? No, I gobbled those supplements up. Yeah. And said, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think if I were in Danny's place, if I would have been introduced to this cult, I think I would have drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Then that's a really good point. That's a fair point. And Leiann, and I think this drives me back to this point in regards to this film. If I were filming your life, we would have a lot of establishing, like maybe we have flashbacks of the good times you had with your mom. Maybe we have flashbacks of all of the wonderful memories and the things that you did and what she meant to you and establish that relationship so that we can go, look at how tore up Leiann is right now, and the fact that somebody would hand her a bowl of pills or some Swedish hallucinogenics, and you would just unquestionably down those. I don't know if they do that. I don't know if Ari Aster does that effectively in this film, right? Like, because that first 15 or 20 minutes of the film, that impact of that scene, while it was horrifying, the character of Danny is she's still in this place where you feel like it. I don't know. I just don't know if it was competently expressed, the depth of her grieving, right? Like, you got that scene where she's crying when she first gets there, but that's after she does the drugs and is asleep for a day out in some field. I don't know. I just feel like if they wanted to illustrate how deeply affected she was, maybe just hitting the audience over the head with a sledgehammer of emotion may have made her subsequent reactions to things less inexplicable. You know what I mean? Like,
I definitely feel like they could have given more actual emotional depth to it.
Yeah. Like, everybody feels really shallow. Even Danny's character, even in the scenes where they dedicate to her emotional struggle as she processes everything that's going on around her, even that isn't really fleshed out as effectively as I think a director would want to flesh that out if they're trying to build up to this horrific end. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I agree completely.
What do you think, Jeff?
It does make sense. It does make sense. And I kind of want to throw out a comparison here, and you guys can stop me if you think I'm wrong. So the more I watch this and I see there's someone who has past trauma, and then that's kind of used to someone's advantage in a sense. And it kind of reminds me of Get Out. And what you were saying, Pat, made me think of this, because in Get Out, our main character's trauma is used to sort of control him and manipulate and be able to hypnotize him into a state where they could use him for what they want. But we see what that trauma is. We're told what it was. We feel it. And we're like, oh man, this is deep. This is harsh.
Yeah.
And it's done in a way that gives you, here's what happened. Here's why he's this way. It's boom, boom, boom. Now you know his backstory. Let's move on. Yeah. So you get it, and you're like, okay, now I'm on board with this character. I really feel even more for this guy.
Yeah.
This is, they make you, what do I want to say? You
like empathize.
You don't so much relate to empathize. Thank you. Yeah. That was the word I was like. You empathize with this character, and I think that was missing in Midsommar, because you didn't really get a whole lot. You're like, well, she lost her family, but did they have a good relationship? Is she just broken because it was so sudden?
Yeah, like,
was there something with her sister?
Yeah, because I mean, those things are alluded to, but they spend so much time building up this scene where it's the big reveal is that the sister gassed her parents to death and then gassed herself. They spend so much time on that scene. That scene is totally unnecessary. Like, why would you spend that much time on that scene and then spend the rest of the movie not showing any of the horrible stuff that's happening off camera if you're trying to make an impact on the audience, right? They could have just cut out that entire scene. They could have plugged in maybe a little backstory as to why her relationship with her sister is so bad, or maybe showing a bunch of different texts where her sister is like, I feel like I want to take out the whole family, or just something to build up, to flesh out Danny's character and to build up that tension with her and her boyfriend, because it just kind of, I feel, and no disrespect here to the character of Danny, but I just feel like she's super basic. Like I don't really care about Danny. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like they build that character up enough for me to go, oh damn, like she's really been through some stuff. Like I'm horrified by the way that, you know, her parents end up meeting their end, and that her sister does it and tapes has that weird mechanism that she's sat there and built. I mean, that to me was just like allude to that off screen, because that's way more terrifying, right? Like what you can imagine off screen is way more terrifying than just spending what was it, like 10 minutes in that opening, or in that sort of mid-opening scene where they're walking through the house and they're showing the parents dead, and then that long sort of dolly shot moving in where they show the sister with that elaborate like face hugger looking contraption that she used to take out her family. I'm just like, that, why would you spend that much time showing that scene, and then only, you know, then she only sees her as a vision out in the field, but she doesn't flash back to that at any other point during the movie. It doesn't seem, that just seemed like, again, like how are we need to make an elevated horror piece. How am I gonna make a big impact on the audience? Oh, I know, I'll show this scene for 10 minutes and conclude the scene with this freaky, you know, Jack Kevorkian rig harness on this girl's face, and there's nothing to build that up in the beginning of the film, aside from a few text messages and a conversation she's having with her boyfriend about how bad, or how, I forgot, like her sister, she's having a talk about how unstable her sister is, or how bad their relationship is. I don't know, that felt so lazy to me, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, the only other time we see a flash of her parents and her sister is one time at the area where we had the two elderly folks, you know, take their nesty plunge to death.
Yeah.
She sees her parents laying down and her sister up against the rock with the hose. So that is the only time we see that image again. And there's only one more image flashback of her parents and her sister. They're like sitting there watching TV, and her sister looks over at her,
yeah,
and kind of smiles, and that's it. It's like
totally out of context. And like, you know, like Leiann, it totally makes sense for Leiann to empathize with the Danny character, because Leiann's going through some stuff, just like Danny was going through some stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. For me, I don't need that stuff spelled out because I'm already in it.
But if I'm Joe Blow walking into the movie theater to see an elevated horror, a horror film, you know, Danny is also a shell of a character with a little piece of context here and there, but even she's not a super likable protagonist. I didn't feel really like connected to her or her story like at all. I was like, dude, if anything, dump this loser. Like, you're an attractive young woman. You're going to follow this moron to Sweden? Like, no, he doesn't like you. Like, maybe they should have taken Stella Got Her Groove back along with that movie or that book. He's just not that into you. And it should have just been a breakup film about her dumping this guy. And then we start with her, you know, going to the spa, getting her nails done, get some fresh J's, a new outfit, hitting the clubs, you know, like, I don't know. It just, it makes me so mad.
It's funny, and I think almost anyone who watches this is gonna have a different takeaway. Like, watching it this last time, I kind of realized that I'm more in line with the Simon character, because when he sees the two elderly people jump, and he's like, "What the fuck? You people are messed up. This guy just jumped. What?
Yeah.
No, we're out of here." I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm like, in this moment, that's me. I walk out. I'm leaving. I'm getting my shit. I'm taking my fiance. We're gonna bounce. Y'all do you, but it's fucked. We're out.
I think we talked about that last time, Jeff, is like, I was like, yeah, it's time to get my hiking boots on. I don't care how fucking far away Oslo is. we're walking to the airport if we need to walk to the airport. Like, bye.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no way. There is no freaking way. Like just rolling up, and that's how I felt in just as the casual viewer in the movie, is like not bringing any of my own personal experience into the film, but just the way that it's presented. And again, that's why I felt like it was so lazy. Like just rolling up into the beginning of the film, you see all these like people in white robes, like out in various clusters in this field, and I'm like, nope, there's no way. And then Pelly going up and hugging his brother, and you're like, yeah, all these people aren't brothers and sisters. This is like something else happening here. Like I'm gone. I am gone when they say it's a 4-hour trip into the backwoods of Sweden to meet my quote unquote family. I've seen too many horror films. Like there's no way. There's no freaking way. There's no way. It feels like the characters are pushed along at the speed of plot, and it doesn't feel like they're making decisions that are based or grounded in any kind of reality other than a reality that serves the story. And to me, that's bad filmmaking, right? Like that's bad. Like when you're playing a game of D&D, if your game master is the one who's making all of the decisions and not giving you any sort of free will, which none of the characters in this film felt like they had any sort of free will, that's a bad game. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
They're making these weird, inexplicable decisions that aren't grounded in any sort of reality or logic, and you're just like, why would you do that?
I think also for me, if I hadn't had lost my mom and I hadn't been in the place that I was, I think I would not have liked this movie. I think I would have hated it because it kind of reminds me of when the movie Quiet came out. I heard a lot of Black people saying it was a white people horror film. Like that is a scary movie for white people. And I feel like Midsommar is also like that.
Totally.
It's very much a white people scary movie.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, totally. 100%. I feel like it revolves around privilege, right? Like
absolutely.
This is a film where like the horror is, oh my God, I'm not getting enough. You know, like it's like I'm not getting the pot pie that I want to eat, you know, as opposed to I don't have enough money to pay for food, or there are monsters chasing me down and I'm not going to be able to eat. Like it felt very contrived. I
agree.
Yeah. And I think that's
that privilege thing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, sorry, Jeff. I was just going to say, I think that's my biggest beef with this film is it feels very contrived.
And that privilege thing that we just touched on, it makes sense because when they're sitting around one of the times and they're eating, Mark is like, "Ugh, it's like they're trying to make this food disgusting. I don't even want to eat it." I'm like, asshole, you're getting a free meal right now. They're feeding you, they're housing you. You've been brought, I mean, aside from the cult aspect, you've been brought in and you're being fed. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. They could easily just have skinned you earlier as soon as you showed up.
Yeah, exactly. It just, there's so much about this film like that just feels, I don't know. It's not an elevated horror film. It's not, I would argue that it's not even really a horror film. It doesn't, I guess it resonates on some sort of psychological level. It's just a series of inexplicable events with a bunch of weirdos who throw their grandma and grandpa off of cliffs, Logan's Run style. Like, that's not a freaking horror movie. That's just some freaking director's self-indulgent pet project. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense because the only reason it's a horror film is because of the gore, really. If you get rid of the gore, what is it?
Yeah, you got some weird group sex thing happening where,
a
bunch of weirdos, chanting along. That was weird. But ultimately, what the hell? You know what I mean?
When I watched it, It's so funny because when I watched it, I was like, man, this is really sweet. They're all in it together. You know, maybe she's nervous. It's her first time. They're comforting her. They're cheering him on.
Yeah.
This is really sweet. And you're like, no, this is weird.
Yeah. Oh God.
That was my first thing. I'm like, it's weird. Why are they all there?
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so
I'm
like
not gonna walk in.
Yeah,
and be like, yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck?
But like, here's the thing. Here, even in that scene where Aster is definitely trying to establish the strangeness and otherness of this experience. Even that scene, I'm sorry, Leiann, just being real here for a second. There is no way that I'm going to be rising for the occasion on the bare wooden floor of some weird fucking cult temple with the half of the damn women in the cult like this guy. Like, how is that even a thing? How is that even possible? Like, it doesn't, that whole scene doesn't make sense. It's just there as filler. It's there to catch your attention. It's there because the ritual that's happening, that's being intersected with, Christian's journey, I guess you could say. I feel like it's there to catch eyes. It's there to catch your attention. It isn't there to serve the plot in any way or
I disagree.
You really? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the reason I disagree is because of the audible chanting and moaning that they were doing as a collective. It was making a lot of noise. They were very loud, and that's how Danny discovers that it's even happening.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And if they weren't doing that, she wouldn't have seen that, and that would have ended the movie.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, just, oh man, I don't know. Just so many elements to this film, and maybe I need to watch it again to get.
No.
Well,
don't torture yourself.
I know.
You don't need to. We're good. We will not be doing part 3.
It's like the elephant. It's the elephant child too. Like, what's up with that guy? Like, come on, guys. They introduced this thing. It's such a bad. Oh, we got to touch upon him before we wrap this thing. But it's like, I feel like that's exactly how I felt when I saw that character. I'm like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, am I watching The Shining? Is he gonna get a banjo out and start playing? What? Like, it was so weird and strange to me. And maybe that was the genius of the film. I don't know, but I was confused.
I don't know. I would have liked more explanation, because they're like, oh yeah, he's the product of incestuous breeding, and he's unclouded because of that. I'm like. Yeah. I'd like more. Yeah. Have there been others?
Yeah, it's like,
has everyone who's written down your history in all these books been unclouded, or did you just at some point have two people have sex and you're like, well, I guess we'll go with this one. He's a little deformed, but
yeah.
I guess we'll make this the prophet or whatever.
Totes, like if they included that as a plot point, if they said, oh yeah, after years of selectively incestuous breeding, we've created these children who can see into the future and convey future events through the scribblings we keep in this massive vault. Like, holy shit, that is some like serious Lovecraftian, seriously heavy, interesting plot line that like a Call of Cthulhu geek like me would be like, holy shit, that'd be a great scenario to write for my players and run them through a game, where they're raiding a Swedish cult compound with like these prophets who have, these strange powers because of decades or centuries of selectively incestuous breeding. But it's like, no, here's this weird kid. He's scribbling up in his basement. And yeah, he's unclouded. Okay, moving on to the next. I'm just like, what? What?
I have more questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Shocking for shocking's sake.
Yeah,
and I've never once, in all the viewings I've had of this, I'm like, they never come back and let us know.
Yeah.
What's up? It's something said in passing to Josh while he's in the room talking to the guy. Oh yeah. Like
again, I feel like let's toss a tomato on the shit sandwich. Like here's another plot point that we can toss in here that's not going to be explored. There's just this scene of this weird kid, and then boom, moving on. Let's move on to the final culmination of the film with no reference to the lore of this. I just ugh.
There are a couple of things that I took away, and I want to present them to you guys, and then you guys, and Leiann, I think we discussed a little bit of this last night. Actually, you're the one who actually pointed this out to me, so we'll get your more in-depth thoughts on this. But Danny, in the course of the film, she's the only one that really takes part in anything going on there. She's more open. She's talking with them. She's helping with the baby. She goes in and helps them make food. She's very open to listening to them and kind of getting to know the people, where everyone else in that group, Christian, Josh, and Mark, are very much standoffish. They're withdrawn from everything. They're standing back. They don't want to get involved. They're like, unless it comes to getting laid, they want nothing to do with it other than, I'm going to take my notes for my paper. But other than that, I want nothing to do with you guys. And I think it speaks to that Danny kind of needing something. And they don't do a whole lot to explain it, but she's really the only one that's like, this is interesting. Let me talk to these people and see. And Leiann, you kind of pointed that out, so I want to get a little more of what you think.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to her giving douchebags a chance. Like, she's willing to see what they're about. She's willing to take in their culture and be respectful of their ways of life. She's trying to be as respectful as possible. And I feel like that's something she and I have in common too, where we kind of accept our surroundings and try to be respectful and polite. This is someone's way of life. It means something to them. So it should be that you would want to be interested. And like they have her do these things, and they ask her to do these things like, hey, would you mind helping us with cooking this meal? Or, hey, let's do this this dance competition. At one point, they pick flowers backwards. That wasn't an event. That was something they just did, and she just did with them.
Yeah, man, which, thinking about a dance competition for the Lifetime version of this movie, man, killer scene. Guys, let's rewrite this movie, like the dance competition. That would be amazing. But I agree with you, Leiann. I think, again, I think all of that stuff, all of those scenes are ways that the director was trying to humanize and flesh out the Danny character. And I like, yeah, I'm so conflicted, even when they attempt to humanize the Danny character. It's almost like the film still wants to come in and some of those scenes, like when she's in the dance competition, for instance, right? Like they focus in on her joy, but I still think that like, and sort of her experience of feeling a bit of a release from her burden, but it's still of grief and maybe, and like you said, Leiann, maybe connecting with this cult and their way of life. But it's still, and maybe it's just because I'm stupid and I need things spelled out for me. And maybe it's because I'm indignant at the fact that the film spelled out the plot of the film at the very beginning on that parchment, but then goes into super obtuse mode later on where they're not giving you anything. Maybe I'm mad because in that scene, maybe they should have expounded more on her feeling of connection with the people, or spelled out that blossoming relationship a little more explicitly. If you're going to take the time to smack me in the face with the plot line at the beginning of the movie, then take the time to smack me in the face during this dance competition where Danny's connecting with this cult culture and these rituals and these people and empathizing with them and becoming one of them. Smack me in the face with that. Don't hold back and just make me wonder, well, what the fuck is going on? Is this the drugs they're giving her, or is this a genuine connection that she's feeling with these people? Again, I just feel like, it just generated this conflict in me that the director would say, I'm going to give you this film in the first 20 minutes, but then as you move through the rest of the film, you're left to wonder, like, why the fuck is she smiling at the end of the film as her boyfriend's burning up in a barn dressed in a bear suit? Like, just come on, man, give me something to work with.
Me and Jeff were talking about that last night. The fact that she's smiling, and I think, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but we came to the conclusion that, well, because she's frowning at first because she's upset and she's angry, and then it turns into a smile, and it's almost like him dying is like the last piece of grief that's holding her back from being happy.
Yeah.
She's finally free of all the things that were holding her down.
And, you know, like, I 100% agree with you. There is a catharsis in that character's death, right? Because she already is going down the path of, like, I can't stand this guy. He's proving himself to be a, total slimy scum bucket as the film goes on. You know, I'm sure those feelings are solidifying in her, but they're not, it's not like they're being that, it's not like those mind states are being reflected in the plot or the storyline. And I just feel like that's lazy filmmaking. It's like, let me put all the burden. Lazy filmmaking to me is, let me put the burden or the onus of intention on the viewer, as opposed to kind of taking a position on some of these things and then leaving some of these things as questions in the viewer's mind because I'm making an elevated horror piece. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, it does. It definitely does.
I feel like I'm trashing this film way harder than I did the first time around.
You are, but that's okay.
It's okay. Everyone is entitled to their opinions on whatever, and I'm coming away with this thinking that, well, I think the film is beautifully shot, and on the first go round, I was like, okay, that was interesting. That was some, and I appreciate some of the darker elements with the cult killing off people and the ritual of burning them at the end, and the kind of life cycle of everything going back. I think those are the more interesting parts that I like. It's the group of friends and those that are the focus that I'm like, it doesn't really work for me at this point.
Yeah.
I want to know more about this cult, this society. Where do they come from? How did this start? What is happening?
Yeah, like the kid, man. I want to know more about the kid. Is he really, like, is he an alien? Yeah. Or is he like some sort of, like, the descendant of some sort of albino troglodytes that crawled out of a cave in the Swedish? Like, come on, man, hit me with some of that. Like, you want an elevated horror film? Let's rewrite some Scandinavian myth cycles, or let's just make freaking Stella Gets Her Groove Back that culminates in a dance competition. Choose fucking one. You know what I mean?
Is this kid like Swedish Hills Have Eyes mutant kind of thing from weird nuclear testing that was going on?
Yes, exactly.
There was something else that happened in the film, and this time I kind of took it as a different thing. And again, I'm going to run this by you guys, and you kind of tell me. So we see Josh go in against the wishes of pretty much everyone in the cult, saying you can't take pictures of these books. Goes in to do it. He's killed. The next day, Christian and Danny are confronted by essentially the elder saying, hey, so that book was stolen and your friends are gone. What's going on? And this time around, I looked at him like, they're testing them because we know for a fact that book wasn't taken. They killed Josh before anything could go missing. So they know that book is there. This is a test to see who's going to do what. And because Danny didn't say anything, and she was like, I don't basically look at them like, I have no idea what's going on. Christian defended himself way too hard, like, oh no, we don't associate with him as friends. And last time we saw Mark, he was off with a girl and this and that. Yeah. And oh, we wouldn't ever do anything like that. We would never. And she's just looking at him like, wow, you're really a piece of shit. And she says nothing, and they're like, okay. And I think ultimately there they kind of made the decision, like, he's probably most likely going to be the one we put in the bear suit. So,
but you know, man, I'm sorry, Leiann. I have feelings about this.
Hey, if you agreed with everything we said, it would make for a very boring episode.
Yeah. I mean, man, where to even begin? The whole subplot with that isn't really thoroughly expounded upon or even remotely expounded upon at all, except in passing, with Josh creeping into the library of the tome of the repository of the cultic knowledge, and then he gets beaten to death or whatever, or gets hit by the lurch cultist. That to me, like, come on, really, we the audience are supposed to believe in some sort of logic in our films, right? There has to be some basis of logic. Otherwise, we're watching a Marvel movie, right? Which I love Marvel movies, but that guy isn't Iron Man, right? So I'm supposed to believe as a viewer that this guy's going to sneak into even if I assume, oh, this guy really wants to beat out the asshole Christian in his thesis here, so he's willing to take the risk of sneaking into this this library to steal a book, doesn't compute. I'm sorry, no reasonable human being, no matter how desperate they are, to, after witnessing old people jump off of cliffs, Logan's Run style, and then have their fucking head smashed in, is going to say, hey, you know what's a really great idea? Sneaking into the library that I've been explicitly told not to go into. Like, that is like some Scooby-Doo level bullshit. and I'm sorry, but that to me again is like, this character has no basis in reality. It's a stand-in. The character of Josh is a stand-in for plot advancement, and that wouldn't isn't acting as a normal human being would act in that situation. So that, again, it's just a series of these inexplicable decisions by the characters that completely remove me from the film. Like, why didn't they introduce Elephant Boy right there? Why didn't Elephant Boy, like, it could have just as easily been Elephant Boy staying up all night, doing his drawings on in the middle of the library, and having Josh walk in and go, oh, and then running out, as it could have been, Lurch beating him over the head with nothing seemed genuine. It seems so contrived. It seems so much like a Lifetime movie to me, like, makes me so angry.
And see, that's why I love being able to do this in this kind of forum, because we can discuss and we can get these feelings out, and we can vent and discuss, and it's sort of therapeutic when you see something like this and you have certain feelings and you want to get them out, instead of holding on to them and just like, I'm just going to bottle this up and bury it. And then somebody may randomly mention the movie sometime and you just go off like a crate of dynamite. Leave them a crying mess in the corner.
Oh man, if we were having this conversation, like if we'd never talked about this film and you guys were like, hey, did you ever see Midsommar? I would just be like, either I'm going to like just verbally diarrhea, or I'm just gonna be like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna shut down, because this film just is it was so bad. It was so, in my opinion, it was just, there were interesting elements, but overall it was just a super lazy film. And again, a movie about some basic white chick getting her groove back and being in a fucking awesome dance competition while on drugs, but still winning the dance competition would be way more, and dumping her shithead boyfriend would be way more compelling to me than Midsommar. I'm just saying, guys. I understand. That's just where I'm coming from. It's so sad. I'm such a horrible person. I'm sorry.
No, you're not a horrible
Jeff
person.
and I are not gonna fight you on that. You're an asshole.
So bad. This movie was so bad. This movie was so bad, guys. Even the ridiculous. Like, I'm going to move forward here for us. The ridiculous ending. Why the fuck was the guy in a bear suit? There's no explanation. There's there's except for the canvas at the beginning of the movie, but you're left to assume that this is some sort of weird Swedish pagan ritual or cultic ritual, but there's nothing there. It's just the guy going like, holy shit, I'm paralyzed, the barn's burning down around me. And it just, again, it felt like a Scooby-Doo episode. It felt
me and Jeff when we were watching it last night, we noticed some symbolism that we didn't see before. And when Christian walks into that one, Jeff, can you help me out? That one woman.
It's like the matriarch where she was. She was telling him like, you've been, chosen to be a match for her to conceive a child.
Yeah,
it was that scene.
If you look on the walls, you can see all these symbols, and one of the symbols, or was it there that we saw it, Jeff? But there was a symbol of this bear like underneath or above a fire.
Nice.
So
yeah, it was a bear engulfed in flames.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's something they do on a regular basis.
On the reg, yeah. I just keep thinking of like, what was that? Wasn't it A Christmas Story where no, they buy him a bunny suit instead of a bear suit? I thought, for some reason, I was remembering A Christmas Story, and I was thinking of that scene where like, what's his name comes down in the bunny suit and he's all like emasculated and Ralphie, yeah, he's all sad, and I'm just like, man, they should have just put him in a bunny suit. That would have been way more in your face about the whole fertility ritual. Like, they probably were just like, we couldn't do a bunny suit because then we would be aping A Christmas Story and everybody would see through this shitty film for what it is. But if you think about it, it's way more in your face than a bear.
What's a better symbol of fertility than a bunny?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even his face at the end, he's just kind of comical looking when he's like looking around like, oh, it's getting kind of hot in here, guys. The suit is really itchy. Like,
actually, I did have a thing about that too, because so he has this thing where he gets this look on his face, like his eyes just bulge out of his head because he's like freaking out. Okay, so in the beginning, when he's walking toward her apartment, and you can hear her screaming in the background, his eyes are big and bulgy like that. Like, he is panicking. He is shitting himself.
Yeah.
And so when I saw him in the bear suit and his eyes are bugging out of his head, I was like, he is shitting himself right now. He's panicking.
You know what? Christian deserved to die if he's going to have the same reaction of comforting his grieving girlfriend while being burned up in a bear suit. He has met karma, and they have been well married.
Yes.
Because
there is no redemptive arc for Christian.
Yes. There's only redemption. There's only him going like, hey guys, maybe we could turn the AC on in the barn. The suit's really heavy. It's really hot in here. Like, God, get out of here, man. Good, Christian. Good for you. I guess there was a satisfying end to that film, then, in my opinion.
Yes.
Satisfying that we got to see him get his just desserts.
That's right. Yeah, fuck that guy. If you can't comfort your girlfriend, then get in a bear suit and set yourself on fire.
Yeah. Like, the only other two characters I don't feel...
She'll probably tell me to do the same thing at some point. I should probably...
The only two characters that I don't feel really deserved to die, and it was just maybe the cult trying to protect, like, their livelihood, were Simon and Connie. They just wanted to leave.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they could maybe expose us, so yeah, we're gonna kill them.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's kind of fucked up for them. They just wanted to leave.
Yeah, they were like the odd. I feel like Simon and Connie were like the stand-in for the audience of the film. You know, like, no, it's time to leave. When you see an old guy get his, or was it? I can't remember if it was the lady or the guy, but when you see somebody get their face smashed in Gallagher style on a rock, like, it's time to go. Yeah.
Yeah. When they're going all sledge-o-matic on the old dude, it's like,
you know, my personal thoughts on that is like, I'm not going to make a big deal. I'm not going to go, oh man, I'm going to call the cops. Like, I am doing, like, again, the Scooby-Doo sneak. I'm not getting any of my shit. We're leaving. Like, we are walking away from this place in whatever we have on, and I'm out. Like, I am gone. There's no
sayonara.
Yeah, bye. Like, I don't need a ride. I don't want to drink any of your special spiced punch. You know. I don't want to eat. Maybe the chef dropped some hair in the pot pies. I don't need a pot pie before I leave or any other baked goods. I just want to go.
I'm good. I'll find the Swedish equivalent of a 7-Eleven and deal with the aftermath as I'm leaving. I'm good.
Sure. Yeah, it's a pretty friendly country. I'm sure I can catch a ride, you know. And even if I, end up getting butchered Wolf Creek style on my way out of the the cult compound, I feel like that's a way better end for me than, dealing with these weirdos. And everything about that movie, I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's good because, I've watched it so many times. It's bonkers. And I'm a glutton for punishment. So I watch it so I can be sad. I'm like, oh, I want to be sad today. Let's put on Midsommar. And then I cry my eyes out. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this podcast episode. This is going to be my swan song for this movie. I can finally put it to rest. Yes. And you're actually helping me with that because you're helping me see that it kind of is a garbage movie.
Yeah.
And that I was really only holding on to it for emotional sake.
Oh, wait, Leiann, here's my take on films. Like Jeff was saying, I mean, this movie evoked something in me. We're here talking about it. I have strong feelings on it. I mean, strong enough feelings to spend 4 hours discussing this movie. So who's the dummy now? Like, I've spent more time wasting more parts of my life. Well, not wasting, but, spent more time talking about this garbage fire of a movie than I'd spent watching it. And it did something for me and it spoke to me in some way. But, it's kind of the same way I feel about The Crow, right? Like, I love The Crow. And The Crow spoke to me and got me through a really hard time in my life. And even though it wasn't technically a great film and, some of the dialogue wasn't great and some of the acting wasn't great. I thought Brandon Lee was amazing. But it was a film that objectively may not be everybody's cup of tea, and some people may even accuse of being not great. It still moved me, and I still watch it, and I still have the same feelings that I had when I initially watched it. So that's the beauty of film, and you definitely shouldn't feel like you wasted any of your time.
No, definitely not. But I could also go, I think I could go the rest of my life without watching it again.
I'm 100% with you on that.
And look at it this way: there's going to be people who really love this film, and that's fine. They're entitled to. It's like with any movie. There are people that absolutely despise the Marvel films. Mm-hmm. I happen to really enjoy all of them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm not going to sit there and tell someone, "Oh, well, you should really change your opinion because this, that, and the other." It's like, don't yuck someone else's yum is basically what it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to say we should be able to have a discussion like this and discuss these films when there's things that you don't like or do like, or you think things missed here and there. And ultimately, that's what I liked about doing this 2-part episode is we've had different opinions coming from Paul, coming from Leiann, Pat, myself, and we've agreed on things, we've disagreed on things. Ultimately, in the end, we had a rousing discussion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
that's ultimately what I think everyone should do, because there's so much. And I know this is going to get into a weird rant here, and we're gonna bring this to a close here soon. But what would a Skewered Universe podcast be without my rant? Ultimately, there is such division among fan bases all over because nobody can have an adult discussion. It's, well, I like this, and if you don't like this, fuck you. You're stupid, and I hate you. It's like, whoa, why is that the go-to? Yeah. Let's just have a discussion, see what we like, what we don't like. Maybe there's common ground somewhere. As opposed to, well, I really like Midsommar, and you're telling me it's a garbage movie, so you suck, and I hate you.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have reasons behind that, or are you just saying that because you have nothing else to go to? I just appreciate when people can sit down, have a discussion, and that's always been my thing. Just talk it out. Just have a discussion. Be adults. Okay, rant over. I
was going to say, I'll just add to that, Jeff. You know, like, I appreciate fan bases being passionate, right? Like, I'm with you. I happen to love Marvel films. But as my 4-year-old told me last night when she was talking about some of her classmates, she's like, superheroes are boring and princesses are beautiful. And I'm like, rock on. Yeah, if princesses are your thing, do princesses. Like, watch all the princess movies. But yeah, don't begrudge somebody their love of a film. And you know, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that Midsommar is not my cup of tea. And I think there are some technically great things to this film. You know, some of the exterior shots and the landscapes and things like that. And I think there are some good ideas that they could have expounded on and that make you think. And this movie definitely generated a reaction in me. But if you are curious, or you want to see this film, or you are, you know, you like the director or what have you, 100% you should watch it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying don't ever watch Midsommar, it's garbage. Like, no, if you're interested, I'd say watch it, give it a shot, and you know, if you like it, you're fucking stupid. I mean, what else can I say? I'm kidding. That was a joke.
Sure.
That was a joke. I don't believe that. No, I think if you're interested and you dig it, do it. You know what I mean? Watch it. Give it a view and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leiann, what you got anything else here before we wrap up and sign off?
Yeah, I have an issue with the movie. So every time I watch it, I keep wondering, where are all these flowers? Where are the flowers?
Exactly.
Where are they? They're nowhere. Are they going to like Walgreens and picking up flowers?
No, they're in the space cave where the elephant boys' alien ancestries. Where the elephant boys' alien ancestors currently reside in year 50,000 of their occupation of the planet. Yeah, what? So where else is all of this other stuff? Like, where are they getting the? You don't. Well, I guess you do see them processing the meat, so I can't say that. But I don't know.
But yeah, last night me and Jeff were watching it, and I'm like, Jeff, tell me where these flowers are.
That's so true.
Maybe they're under the tarps.
I had two theories. One is maybe they're under the tarps that they keep showing you, or two, they've got a really good lucrative silk flower business and we just don't see where that's at.
Yeah. Silk flowers and ASMR, man. That's where money's at, guys. Maybe we need to do an ASMR movie review. Maybe that's where the money, fame and prestige and. Come on, Jeff. You got that silky voice. Yeah, mouth sounds. Yeah. Oh, that's going to be in the script for our rewrite of Midsommar. Is not a dance competition and ASMR somehow, some way. Maybe the Danny character is an ASMR artist who's, you know, kind of down on her luck, looking for inspiration.
All right. I'm fully on board with this, but there has to be one thing we need to include that I think would have really made the movie even better. If she's going to get new outfits, there needs to be an 80s style montage where she's got a couple of friends. Maybe one is like the sassy gay friend.
Yeah.
And they're telling her yes or no as she's in different outfits. And it's got to be to Katrina and the Waves Walking on Sunshine.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
100%. No, her sassy friends are her girl band, like the Gem and what was that? What was
Gem and the Holograms?
Gem and the Hologram style montage. Because her asshole boyfriend doesn't like her music. Like, he's dogging her music, man. He's stifling her
Don't get me started about Gem because she's a two-faced bitch. I can't stand her.
Yeah.
100%. Right. We'll save that for another time. I think on that note, we need to wrap this up because honestly, we can keep talking forever, and that's going to keep anyone from getting anything else done in life.
Yeah.
Midsommar should not be a hindrance.
Yes.
So again, guys, I really want to thank you both for showing up to do this. This has been great.
Thank you for setting it up.
Of course.
I always like speaking with you guys. It's fun. We got to do another one real soon. Dawn of the Dead. Dawn
of the Dead. We're definitely going to do that. If anyone out there is a Dawn of the Dead fan, get ready because this is going to be a magnum opus from Skewered Universe.
Yeah, I definitely got some thoughts on Dawn of the Dead, people.
Oh man. And if you're willing, we could do Dawn and then maybe do the follow up with Day. I don't know if you're up for that, but
man, 100% on board. I got some thoughts on that movie too.
And we'll still get together with Paul and talk about Mandy because that's one that I've been meaning to see as well.
Yeah, that has everything. Big chainsaws.
I mean, the cage.
Cults. We'll be
Cults.
on a cult kick. Yeah, cults. I mean, it's
maybe maybe we need to just cover cult movies on this. And I mean, movies about cults, not.
Thinking about Mandy, there are a couple of similarities between Mandy and Midsommar. There is a death that occurs while somebody's covered by something else, kind of entombed in material. So there's that. I mean, yeah, we might as well just slide right into Mandy, and that didn't sound good. We might as well review Mandy. And Leiann, are you on board?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. You guys got to watch it together though, because it is a love story.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch together. I think I showed her a trailer and she didn't seem interested, but
Leiann,
we'll definitely.
When you see the Cheddar Goblin, show up, you're going to be interested. Let me tell you, the Cheddar Goblin, or 2 minutes of Nick Cage freaking out for no reason. Well, I mean, he has a reason. But an uncut shot of just Nick Cage going like "Wah!" in a bathroom. Oh, it's epic.
I'm down. Yeah.
So you guys keep your ears open. We're going to be doing Mandy. Pat and I are going to be discussing Dawn of the Dead. It's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming through here. I think that's it, guys. So if there's any final thoughts you want to say, anything you want to talk about real quick before we wrap up, and I think we're going to call this a show. So if you have anything else, feel free to jump in right here.
I'll just say, hey, Midsommar, check it and, see what you think.
And then all I have to say is thank you for listening, and we love you.
All right.
Should I do it?
Thanks so much, guys.
Whisper it.
Go right ahead. Go for it. We'll be quiet.
No, I can't. Leiann, you do it. You have
No.
Jeff, you do.
So long, everybody. Thank you for listening. It's been really great. I don't know if anyone heard me or not.
I'm so turned on right now.
Oh, God. I got to leave now, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you for being on the show, guys. We'll reconvene soon. Everyone keep enjoying that universe. That's just a bit skewered.
Check out Skewered Universe Podcast at the following links: skeweredhead.com, facebook.com/groups/Skewered Universe Podcast, skewereduniverse.podbean.com, Twitter @SkeweredU, Instagram, @Skewered_Universe, Email the show at skewereduniversepodcast@gmail.com.